I was already doing cocaine long time before that. I was selling drugs.
How do you deal with the fact that you have to be strong for yourself?
I didn't deal with it well.
Was it hate? Was it sadness? Was it feeling sorry for yourself?
All the people who said I should do this instead of that, that was not their fault, that was my fault.
When I was 20, I worried about what people were thinking of me. And then when I was 40, I stopped caring about what people are thinking about me.
The time is never right. The time is right enough.
Are you talking to yourself?
You have to tell yourself there's no perfect answer. There's no perfect solution. There's no perfect time to do whatever it is, that hard thing you have to do.
Can you see a through line of what makes you right now?
No one needs to tell you that you're special. You are special, just the way you are.
What's the right questions to ask?
You don't have to become anyone else. You need to unbecome what you think people want you to be.
Welcome back to Gladiator TV. My name is Dave Crane. It's my pleasure to be in for Dariush Soudi, who I know you're waiting saying, where is he? And he will be back, but he's just saved the Justice League and he's putting the new Avengers together. We'll have all that when he comes back to join us. But meanwhile, if you've ever had a challenge in your life, if you've headed towards burnout and had to recover from it, if you've ever found that either your career or your private life or even the whole world seems to be against you and you don't know how to bring yourself back, today's session will give you some techniques, some tools, and some tricks that will help to bring you back from the brink and also allow you to help others on the way. It's my great pleasure to invite and introduce to you the very talented speaker and coach, Dr Katherine Iscoe. How are you?
Great to be here.
It's so good to see you. It almost feels like deja vu chatting to you now. Isn't that strange?
Absolutely.
But we met, first of all...
We met online.
Online, that sounds... you're thinking, oh, does your wife know about it? It's okay, it's legit. Because you just arrived in Dubai, and we are in Dubai, and it's just one of those things. So, you just arrived in Dubai. How long ago was that?
2 months ago. 2 months ago. It feels like 2 days ago, though.
Wow.
I know.
So 2 months ago, you'd arrived in Dubai, and you were just kind of getting settled into what is what. And it's really strange when you arrive in a place like this, or a new big city, or a country that's doing so many things. It's like going to school again. And you just like don't know, do I stand with those kids or these kids? If I ask anybody anything, will they think I'm not meant to be here? And it's a massive challenge. But then you realize after a while how to settle in, and then anybody else that comes along, you can point things out to them. And it's easy to do, but at first it's a bit of a shocker. It took me about 4 months, to be honest, to get back into the swing of being here. And 30 years later, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Yeah. So tell me about your journey. What brought you to Dubai in the first place?
Well, I was living in Australia. I was only meant to be there for 3 years. I got a scholarship to do my doctorate. And after 3 years, I met a boy. And this guy chased me and chased me. He's like, one day you're going to tell me that you love me.
He wasn't a boy, was he?
Oh, sorry, no.
Okay,
he wasn't, yes.
Okay.
That would have been awkward.
Sorry.
But no. So he chased me for a year, and he's like, one day you're going to tell me that you love me. I'm like, that is never going to happen. We've been together 15 years, so he won.
Wow, but you are hard to get. What's all that about then? Did you not like him? Or what was wrong?
It was right after I was dating, quote unquote, all the wrong guys, but it was really... It was right before this sort of, I call it like the dimmer switch moment. I don't think lives have a lot of light bulb moments. I think there's like days that you just get a little bit of glimmer of light. And one of my buddies said, you do realize that you're the common denominator for everything that's going wrong in your life. And it kind of felt like a slap in the face, and you would think this was like the Hollywood moment. I would realize, yes, I am the center and I can like change my life. Nah, yes, I'm like smart academically. Not so smart when it came to life, let's just say. But I had to do some work on myself. And of course, my partner, whose name is Vlado, he liked me, and I was like, I can't. Not right now. I need to figure out what's going on here, because you can either, you can't see the picture if you can't see the picture of your life when you're inside the frame.
Yeah.
You got to step out of it and like look back with objectivity. So what happened was we, became friends, and obviously it turned into a relationship. And I always thought, I'd move back to Canada or maybe the States or somewhere else, but it was just next year. And finally we decide, no, Dubai is definitely the place we need to be.
So
and
you
so
both,
we arrived.
how
Yep.
long had you been together before you came to Dubai?
He was going back and forth quite a bit,
Okay.
and I'm sure a lot of the audience can relate to this, that you get thrown into situations that might not be the best at the time, but you just make them work for you.
Totally.
And so I would come back a couple of times, and then we're just like, yep, time is right. Actually, I'll take that back. The time is never right. The time is right enough to make the move. It's never going to be like the perfect time. You're never going to have like the perfect financial situation or blah, 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 whatever the list is. But you do it. I always say, you know what, if it's not right, you make it right. You know, you take the risk, and if everything goes to crap, you can make it right somehow.
I've got a similar phrase. Mine's jump and grow wings on the way down. You make calculated risks. You look around and go,
Yep.
Could I make it? I probably could. Could I do anything to make it better? A little bit here. You know what? I'm going to risk it and go for it. And sometimes you have to do it. And it's those magic times when you look back on it and say, that's the best decision I ever made.
Yeah.
But sometimes it takes far too long to get to that point. But when you do get to that point, it's the right decision to make.
Absolutely.
So tell me about little Catherine. Getting to a point where you're big
I'm
Catherine now.
actually
You're not
very
massive now, but the chair makes me taller, so I'm more than happy with that as
Yeah.
well. So tell me about your getting to this point here.
So, oh gosh, it depends how far you want to go back. But I guess to summarize, little Catherine was, I guess I had the mindset, if you like me, I like me. It was always about chasing validation. And you can't chase validation and feel whole as a person, because you're constantly trying to suck someone's opinion of you and fill those gaps. But the irony is there are no gaps to fill. And that's really my mindset today. So there's nothing to fix. There's nothing, that you need to improve in the way of something is wrong and you have to make it right. I would say your past is a part of you. It doesn't make you. The mistakes that we've made. So when it comes to the little Catherine, I would say it's really, there's a great saying, I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I think I am who I think that you think I am, which is a bit of a like, oh.
Say that again.
I'm not who I think I am.
Yeah.
I'm not who you think I am.
Right.
I am who I think that you think I am.
Okay.
Basically, we're all walking around worrying about what people think of us.
Right.
But you're not thinking about me because you are in your own world.
Completely. There's
Yes.
a phrase that I shared, which is, I worried about what people thought about. When I was 20, I worried about what people were thinking of me. And then when I was 40, I stopped caring about what people are thinking about me. And then when I reached 60, I realized that nobody was thinking anything about me at all anyway.
Yeah.
Because everyone's got their own world to get on in. And in many ways, if you see yourself as being a reflection of what people think of you, then you're never going to get to being happy in your own core, because you'll always be there to satisfy people who aren't focused on reflecting it back on you.
Yeah.
They'll always want, some people want more, some people want less, and if you spend your time trying to make people happy, you've got to start with yourself first. It's like when you're on a plane, and I know it's an old video now, but when you put an oxygen mask on, I'm going to tell you to do that. They say put it on yourself before you put it on your kids or anybody else, because if you put it on the kids first and you pass out, your kids can't get you off the plane. You're too heavy, but you can get them off a plane and resuscitate them. So that's a major thing most people seem to get wrong, isn't it? Because especially in the world of influencers and the obsession with social media, everybody sees everyone else as doing better than themselves. Is that what affected you? I mean, social media wasn't there, but is that what you felt like when you were growing up?
I felt like everyone else was special and I wasn't.
Why?
Because I had this perception that they were getting all the attention and I wasn't. And I guess, you can put it into my parents' divorce, you can put it into personality, you can put it in...
Are you an only child?
Well, I have a half brother. I always say my brother and I know I'm the favorite. But no, I was obviously a half brother, but I've always felt like there was something wrong with me that needed to be fixed. And I figured that if people gave me enough attention equated to they loved me. And that's a very precarious way to live. Because if someone doesn't give you attention, ergo,
They don't
there's
love you.
something, yeah, exactly. And so you live this life where you're just looking at all these happy people. And what I found out, this is many, many decades later, is happiness is important, but I think waking up and actually being proud of the person that you are and making the decisions that make you feel proud of the life that you're living is, I think, a little bit more important than happiness. I think we focus a lot about happiness, how many likes we have. Oh, we went to Italy for a vacation, and yet happiness is important. But what about what you're saying, what you're doing? Can you actually put your head on the pillow at night and say, you know what, that was a tough day, but I'm proud of the decisions that I made. It wasn't a happy day. It was actually a really crappy day. But God damn, I'm proud of what I did that day. And that is what I'm focusing on in my life.
That's amazing. I actually came to a conclusion very similar to that, which is the world is obsessed with happiness. Happiness at work, the best companies have a happiness index, best countries have a happiness index. And when I studied it, I thought, well, hold on. I think everyone's chasing the wrong stuff. It's not about happiness. Because to be happy, you have to experience anger or sadness, get away from there, and then go to happy. It's like on a scale like that. But what people miss is contentedness. So, for instance, if you're watching a TV show and we've got an advert on or a music video and you've got Beyonce and all these people on drinking champagne on a yacht in the middle of the Maldives, you go, wow, that's amazing. That would make me happy, but I'm not there. But one day if I get that, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
I mean, Jay-Z wouldn't get married to Beyonce. But what you can do is you say, well, what can I do to make myself content? And you go into the kitchen, you make yourself a cheese sandwich, and you make a nice cup of tea, and you sit there and you flick on Netflix, and South Park or whatever comes on, and you go, okay, this will make me content. And it's not the first choice, but it's a choice that's accessible. And so if you're able to get to contented every single day, rather than chasing the happy, which is difficult to do, then you can have a life of contentedness plus happy, but you snap back out of bad day, but I was okay very quickly. And for me, that was a revelation. So I'm just throwing it in there because I think for some people, they'll feel the same way about happiness, because our happiness is always reflected by what everybody else is doing. And I don't think it has to be. I think it starts inside you. And I think everyone's too hard on themselves as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially as a recovering high-achieving people pleaser, which I talk about a lot, it's you're running a race against yourself with no finish line. And I think you can apply that to the concept of happiness as well. Like, oh, I will be happy when. But then you keep on pushing that marker forward. When I make an extra $100,000, then I'll be happy. Oh, I've made that 100,000. Yeah, but that doesn't really count because so-and-so has yada, yada, and blah, blah, blah. I'll be happy when I lose another 10 pounds. Well, I've lost the 10 pounds. Yeah, I still don't look the way I want to look. Oh, I'm going to get a little bit more Botox. Yeah, but.
So when you were feeling like this, who did you look at for this validation? Because were they people you saw on social media, people you saw on TV, celebrities, friends, high achievers that you come across? What's your benchmark for saying that I'm not as good as them, but I need to be?
I think when I was younger, like you said, we didn't have social media back then, but I'll give you an example. When I think it was grade 7 or so what would I be in there, maybe 12, 13, anorexia was popular. So the goal was to eat so little that you fainted. And I'll always remember, I won't say her name, but I remember this girl, she ate so little that she fainted at school. And I was so jealous of her. Because I loved food. I mean, I've wanted to be a chef. I would come home, I wouldn't watch cartoons, I would watch cooking shows. I was like, what is wrong with me that I can't not eat? And she got the attention because, oh my God, poor, her, blah, 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 blah. I mean, what a crazy benchmark for attention. But that's, the mind does funny things.
Well, it's secondary gain, isn't it? I mean, as a hypnotherapist, I've worked with many people to stop them smoking and other things like that. And often what happens is subconsciously, the reason they smoke is because they know cigarettes are bad for them, but they take a break when they have a cigarette. So if they stop smoking, say 20 cigarettes a day, that's 20 breaks they're not going to have. So the brain says, what are you going to do with that with no breaks? You know what? Whatever the cigarettes are doing, keep the brakes. And so the secondary gain is that. And it's like when you go to a party and you see somebody who bursts into tears all the time at parties once they've had a drink. They could sort their life out, but they get free hugs if they don't.
Yep.
And so often there's a secondary gain behind it for the girl who passed out.
Yep.
It's a case that if I can pass out, then I get all this well done from everybody and this care, which is probably filling a gap that she had on something else as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that sort of was transformative in the way, okay, if you look better, people will like you more. And I think this was in the time where it was like the Atkins diet was big and, you know, it was a high protein and no carbs. Carbs were bad and so forth. So that sort of transpired a little bit later. And so that disordered eating pattern got worse and worse and worse. And really from the time I was about 12, 13 until the time I was kind of, I would say 40, that was always in the back of my mind. The better you look, the more people will like you.
Okay.
And so what turned, anorexia turned into bulimia, turned into very, very severe binge eating and major depression. But at the time, again, social media, for all it's bad, actually can do a lot of good because you look at other people like, oh my God, I'm not the only crazy one here, So that actually would have been helpful because I remember at the time when I used to go home and I would be this perfect person, especially during my master's degree, during the day, like I would eat perfectly. No carbs, I would exercise, and I had a fantastic body, so people would like, oh, can you train me? Validation, attention, ego, right? And then I would go home, and it was almost like a balloon deflating. I'm like, finally, I can just make mistakes. I can be that bad person. It was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And I was so ashamed of this. And I couldn't...
Ashamed of what?
I think if you've never been a binge eater, it's really, really difficult to explain what goes on in the mind. And the best way I can just hypothetically, obviously, explain it is if the craving to binge hit and I had a tub of ice cream on my right side and there was a child stuck underneath a burning bus
Which one would you
that
eat?
needed saving, I would pick the tub of ice cream every time.
Wow.
It is a complete lapse in your morals. And people who have never been
What's
cheated
an
before,
addiction?
it's 100% addiction, but we didn't know that at the time. It was, oh, you can't get your shit together. Oh, why do you not have any self-control? Clearly there's something wrong with you. And the irony is, on the outside, I was like the Hollywood, like I get a scholarship, I graduated summa cum laude, I always had clean pores, always like perfect. So I wanted like the perfect life, to get the perfect body, to get the perfect guy. I thought that was going to make me happy.
Why?
It comes back to that. It's because I think oftentimes when you're younger, or I don't want to say young, is you don't think for yourself. You don't think, wait, this is what I think is happening, but let me sit back and really think, what do I want? But I figured this...
You're saying that now because you can now look at it and say what might have happened and what was the case. But going back to the original, reason I bring it and the reason I'm digging deep on it is because there'll be people watching this who are resonating with everything you're saying and haven't got those answers of what's caused it. So before we give solutions, I'd like to know more about what was... Did you get validation from your family? Your parents split. You had a half brother. Who did you live with? Or was that all fine? But it's when you went to university you found it challenging. What was the situation?
Lot into that. So when I was 15, I was already, I don't know what I can and cannot say on this, but I was already doing cocaine. Long time before that, I was selling drugs. I was being promiscuous. It was like a guy like
Not
me.
in Dubai, it was somewhere.
No. So
okay,
this
let's
is
get that right.
15. That was just 2 years ago, of course. Botox. No, this was many, many years ago. And so it was, you chased that high of like not only the cocaine, but like when a guy liked you and you see those Hollywood romances and you get all the endorphins and stuff. And then they use you and drop you. But I was like, oh, the next guy is going to be different.
So from a very early age, in comparison, I'm being naive here by saying at the age of 15, but I happen to have a 15-year-old daughter, and she's making noises that I'm thinking, no boys until you're 21. I'm an idiot. But at the age of 15, who are your role models who you're answering to, or were you looking in the mirror and that was your role model that you had to work with? Because you must have had some kind of counseling chat, internal dialogue that's pushing you to validate yourself.
No, I didn't. That's the thing. And it's funny that you say that, because this was many, many years later. I was in a therapy session, and I can't even explain what she was doing, but she was just making me go back into my past. And she kept on saying, like, who is your role model? Who had your back? And I was bawling. Like, we're talking Kim Kardashian, ugly, crying, snot, everything, like just dripping.
The best stuff.
Yeah, the good stuff, right? And all I could think about was this time where my dog Kaya, who is a Siberian Husky, my mom told us that she had jaw cancer of all things, and I found out, and I was going to a ballet lesson, and I said, Mom, I can't go. And I sat outside with my dog, and even just saying this, like, just tears, right? And I just remember sitting outside with Kaya. It was like minus 300, this is in Canada, and just sobbing. Like, just the thought of losing her killed me. Like, it kills me now. Like, and that was the person, you know?
Yeah, I understand that. I had two beautiful dogs up until a week ago, and I've got one left now.
Oh, no.
Now, unfortunately, my Belgian Shepherd had to go to sleep. But you have to make a decision at that point. And I've been out here 30 years. I've had many dogs, and they live a better life per capita than we do.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to go to work. They can sleep when they want, which is most of the time. The food's ready for them. They don't have to go to the supermarket and say, because it's all waiting there. And they just need to have a love exchange, and that's the deal. And at some point, we've got to make a decision as a dog parent. It's time to let them go, and they know when it's time to go. And they let you know when it's time to go, and they don't have the same philosophy that we have, which is I'm missing out on something. They're just like, I trust you to end it, and that's it. And I get that, and I feel it very much about it. When you have that situation, and you're feeling this loss that's coming, how do you deal with the fact that you have to be strong for yourself?
I didn't deal with it well.
You just carried on that wound and papered it over?
Yeah.
Or was it always open?
I think, Kaya was a part of it, but I think it was more of a reflection of the situation at the time. And I always say, I don't talk about people or try to predict their opinions if they're not in the room. So I think my parents did the best they could with what the time, but that's where the conversation ends unless they're in the room. But I think being a parent is really, really difficult, especially when on the outside, it looks like your daughter is fine, but they're hiding a lot. And I know I've had many, many conversations with parents that something does go wrong, and they're like, we didn't see this coming at all.
You don't get a book.
You do not get a book, and you don't know the red flags until later. Like, blind spots are called blind spots for a reason. So I think that was part of it. I got caught stealing in the body shop. It took me 30 years to walk into a body shop. So if you are a body shop owner, I'm so sorry.
It wasn't her. It wasn't. If you're looking now, it wasn't.
So I got caught stealing, and my mom just said, like, we got to get you out of here. So I ended up going to private school in Rome, Italy. And it was just like this opening of a world where my friends were my friends. Like, they were just incredible.
How old were you then?
I was just turning 16. I was there until I was 18. And I still even, like, keep in touch with a couple of my best friends.
Finishing school, really.
Finishing school, but I think the point more is sometimes you need to get yourself out of a situation, like literally physically out of a situation, and open up your world to people that actually care for you, because it is possible. And it was the most incredible experience. Now, saying that, of course, then I went back to Toronto. You know, that was a whole other story. So I think life isn't about like this progressive, oh my God, life is just getting easier and easier. Life doesn't get easier. Your ability to navigate it does. And I think that is so key. You know, when you were asking, you know, for the audience, I think this is something that really helped me realize is you can't just wait here and think, I'm going to win the lottery. I'm going to have amazing skin. I'm going to get a promotion at my job. You know, enter your sentence here. I think life doesn't get easier. Your ability to look at it from a different perspective and understand that a lot of things are out of your control. Control the controllables. And so in that sense, again, like I said, I might have been smart in school. I was not smart when it came to life. And I think a lot of people are so hard on themselves, like we should know the answers. And especially as a high achiever, you think, well, I'm getting A+ in school. Why can't I figure this out? It's hard. It's hard when you are, again, you can't see the picture of your life because you're inside the frame. And at that time, especially many, many times in my life, you're in the frame and the only way to point is outwards. It's not my fault, it's your fault. It's not my fault that I'm having all these bad relationships. No, it's the guy. He's a dick. It's not my fault. I'm the amazing person. And that's hard to take. Don't get me wrong. It is hard to admit and understand that maybe all the crap that's going on in your life is because of you.
Well, it's like Dr. Wayne Dwyer says, if you squeeze an orange, what comes out? He says, orange juice. Why? Because it's an orange. So if you have lots of chaos around your life, it's because it's a reflection of the chaos that's inside you. Because you see what you're interested in. So if you're interested in, everyone's making money and I'm not, that's what you're going to see everywhere. Be interested, like negative people, if they're negative, I hate that and I hate that, it's because internally they just hate everything.
And I was that person. I was that person, and I don't like to admit that. I was a person that if I was on social media, if we had it back then, I would be the one commenting and trying to bring people down. And let me tell you, this is not easy to admit, especially as a Canadian. We're meant to be really nice.
You're the nicest people in the world.
Yes.
So now.
But yeah, exactly. Now you see the real me. But it's hard to see other people winning at life when you feel like everything is going wrong.
Is it tough now?
No, much different. And interesting that you say that, because especially coming to Dubai, I think we were talking about this before, you do feel like that awkward, weird kid on the first day of school, especially if you've moved from a different country. It's like...
Initially, yeah.
Initially it does. And if you have that perception, that's the life that you're going to create. And especially, as a high-achieving people pleaser, the high achiever says, well, you can't ask for help. Because if you ask for help, that means you're incompetent. And why would someone want to be associated with someone that's incompetent? And as a people pleaser, you don't want to ask for help because other people have it so much worse than you. Yeah. They're too busy, yada, 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 yada. And that's the important thing about self-respect. Self being the operative word there is when you have respect for yourself, it's so much easier to respect others because you can see life from their perspective. Because if you swapped it, and another person were to come into your country, what's the first thing you would want to do? What's the first thing you did for me? Reach out and said, hey, do you need anything? Do you want to jump on a Zoom call? Bada bing, bada boom, right?
That's it.
So this is the whole thing about, perspective and self-respect. When you have respect for yourself, all of a sudden you can see respect from other people's point of view.
But you can't run on empty. And it's very easy to overextend what you give to people. You need to keep some back for yourself. And that's a problem that many people deal with because everyone goes, oh, thank you. And they get used to the fact that you'll keep giving. You have to be able to be a little bit selfish and go, no, that I've only got a little bit left in the tank and that's mine. And it's really interesting what you're saying about friendships there, because I remember my daughter, my wife actually sent me a TikTok video, and it was about somebody saying that true friendships, I think it was Simon Sinek, was talking about true friendships, and he said true friends are not the ones who are always there for you and they're there for your bad news and all the rest of it. He said you can tell the real true friends because they're there for your good news and they generally feel good for you when you share how well you're doing. And if you're doing even better than them, they don't care for you. They're genuinely happy because it's made you happy. And that's where you check with them. And there's a handful of people I know in my life that are like that. And to all the friends that I have, I'm always like that. When I watched it, I thought, well, I love everyone's success. It's not a reflection that there's only so much to go around, and them doing well means that I'm not we're on our own separate journeys. I see us like being in a big swimming pool where life is like that big swimming pool. Some people are effortlessly just treading water. Some people are doing lengths, some doing breadths. Some people holding on to others until they start going down, then grabbing somebody else. And some people are instructing others on how to learn to swim. Everyone finds their own way of staying afloat. And some people sink. And there's very little you can do because you bring them up again and then you start going down. Eventually you've got to decide what that leads to. And I think that the biggest challenge that we have is nobody tells us these rules. We have to learn ourselves the hard way.
Yeah.
So when did you learn the hard way? What was the thing that hit you that said, I have to stop doing this, no more. I've got to find who I really am because the old me isn't working. Because you're a doctor.
Yes.
Could you explain what doctor you are first?
Sure, and that's part of the story as well. PhD in biotechnology, so I worked with patients with type 1 diabetes, and we looked at how an implantable technology could monitor a type of sugar in their body. Now, the reason why that's important is exactly what we're talking about now, you know, that sort of, I don't like to talk about epiphanies, but that realization moment is I was in school for my master's and my doctorate studying that. Now, did I find the subject interesting? Absolutely. But was I passionate about it? No. And I think to answer your question, when you realize that it's much more important what you think about yourself rather than what you think other people think of you, that's when life really begins. Because then you can start actually getting into the driver's seat of your life. And what happened was, at the time I was working with consultants, and remember, I don't want to say that they were wanting ill of me or anything. They were just doing their job, and they were saying, listen, you know, if you want to give keynotes to corporations, they're not going to want to hear about your binge eating disorder and your stage 5 clinger sort of relationships. You know, we have to keep it kosher, you know, if you want the HR, you know, people to pay. And I was like, yes, okay. I remember one coach said, well, you're a PhD, talk like a PhD. Okay, I'll talk like a PhD. And I remember also, I worked with a consultant who said, you're a doctor, you need to have a doctor's wardrobe, and then you can dress the way you want over here. I mean, if that isn't evidence of, hey, we want you to be someone different, I don't know what is. And it kind of like gets back to that stage, oh, just be yourself. Oh, but not like that. And when I realized, I just remember coming off stage once after giving a good talk about mindset, about science, about, you know, using supplements for stress relief. And everyone was like, oh my God, that was the best talk ever. And I felt empty. I just felt like...
It wasn't authentic. It
was such a puppet performance.
Yeah.
All I wanted to talk about was what I talked about off stage with the people who knew who I really was, oh, you know, I saw that post about da-da-da, and that really resonated. I was like, why am I not doing this? I had to have like a mini emotional breakdown to realize this, or as Brene Brown says, like a spiritual awakening. But I did the adult thing when you have an emotional breakdown, you know, you run back to your parents. And I was sitting next to my dad. This is back in Canada. And my dad
still had a good relationship with your parents, good enough to go back. How old was it when you went back? What age were you at this stage?
This was recent, so 42, so only about 5 years ago. And This is what I'm saying. It took me a long time to sort of figure things out, and I'm still figuring things out. But this was in the stage where I was just like that puppet, and I was waking up, and I remember one of my colleagues, this lady that was working for me, said, like, you just don't seem yourself. You just seem off. Maybe you should go speak to a therapist. And I said, you know what? Yeah, I probably should. I'm driving to the therapist. I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, you know, I'm a mindset coach. Like, I should know what to do. Anyways, within like 5 minutes, she's like, you're burnt out. And I literally, in my head, I was like, you have no idea what you're talking about. I'm going to show you burnt out. And she's like, you're going to have to take some time off. And I said, well, how much time off? She said a month. And I was like, excuse me? Do you say a month? Anyways, I talked her down to taking the rest of the afternoon off. I'm driving home, I'm like, this is bullshit, right? So I got home and I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe something is wrong. I gotta figure this out. So I do this thing called free writing, right? Where it basically, you set a timer, 10 minutes, you start with a catalyzing question. In this case, I said, how does it feel to be me right now? And I was honestly thinking, Dave, this was gonna be like a Hollywood movie. The clouds were gonna part and like the sun was gonna come down and my answer was gonna be revealed on the page. It was the most vile writing I've ever wrote. I was like, death, destruction.
Just to explain it, when you
Yeah.
say free writing, you're tapping into your subconscious mind.
You just
and
write.
Whatever comes out. You're just a vessel
Yes.
for what's inside.
Yeah, you're just writing. You're not crossing anything out. You're not judging what you write. You don't say, oh, that didn't, you just write. It's like opening a tap of water.
Yeah.
You just let it come out, and then when the timer goes. Anyway, so I looked down at this. I'm like, whew, this is not Canadian. I've never experienced that level of anger in my life. And when I really thought about it, it was like that lyrics from Mamma Mia, here we go again. I was like, here I go again. I was looking at everyone's opinion for what I should do with my life rather than thinking, what the frick do I want to do with my life?
So what was it saying when you looked back at all the stuff and you were shocked by how much was written?
Yep.
Was it self-depreciating? Was it hate? Was it sadness? Was it feeling sorry for yourself? What were you reading there?
Anger, a lot of anger.
At who?
Anger at who I was blaming. All the
Which was who?
consultants that were saying, oh, you should talk like a PhD. All the people who said I should do this instead of that. That was not their fault. That was my fault.
But did you know that when you're writing it down? Were you saying this is my fault? Or were you
No.
saying these people are horrible, don't deal with people like that?
No, it was afterwards when I looked down. I was like, that's when that Mamma Mia lyric came to
Right.
mind. Here we go again. Why am I allowing other people to dictate what I talk about, what I feel, what I do, how I wake up in the morning? And like I said, they were not ill-meaning by any means whatsoever. This was me not being proud of myself and what I can do and what I can deliver the world. Always thinking, they know better, I don't know as good as they do. And this is a crazy thing. The number of times I speak to people who are so incredibly talented, they're like, oh, I just need one more skill and then I'll do that.
Yeah.
The number of times I hear that, and sometimes it's hard because you don't want to be that arrogant asshole, right? Saying, oh, no, I actually have something important to say, because then you feel like an arrogant jerk. So what is that balance? What is that messy middle in the...
But life is about being a lifelong learner, but it doesn't mean you're a lifelong certified learner. It just means you've got your eyes open and you're enjoying the experiences, and you're living in almost like in a reality TV show where you can treat it like a game show, or you can treat it like an actual video game where you can read something and upgrade yourself and eat the right food and you got more energy and all this kind of stuff. For my daughter, when she was 2 years old, from the age of 2, where she was able to understand conversations, there's one thing I taught her, and that's, if you disagree with what me and your mummy say, and you disagree with what your friends say, and you disagree with what your teachers say, you have the right to tell everybody to go and kiss it. Whatever you think is right is right. But don't delude yourself about it, but whatever you believe is that. And I told her that, and people say, you can't tell a 2-year-old to kiss it. And I said, well, I have, because I'm not going to let her be in a situation where the banks say get a credit card, or people say you're not good enough and all that other stuff which you're going to have. I wanted to plant that. And I fed her on a regime of everything from watching South Park to Little Britain to whatever TV shows, comedy-based, that had an anarchic view of the world. Not because I wanted her to go out and set things on fire, but I wanted her to be able to have an outlet of smiling at the BS around and being able to put a subtitle that makes her smile on it. Does that make sense?
It does. You're basically telling her to be true to yourself, which is exactly what my dad told me, which is why I have this tattoo in my arm.
Wonderful.
To thine, it says, to thine own self be true, love Dad. So he's a doctor as well, so
Wow.
got him to write it out 10 times on a piece of paper. I picked the most legible one, and I got it, so this is my
I was
dad's
going to say,
writing.
you got him to write it on your arm 10 times. I thought, that's not great dadding, to be honest with you.
It's exactly my dad's writing,
That's
and that's when, that emotional breakdown, when I went back, that was sort of the inflection point, I would say, for me to start saying, okay, I've noticed these patterns over and over again. What would be so bad if you were just true to yourself? What would be so bad if you show your weird and wacky and wonderful self to the world? What would be so bad about that? And at the end of the day, there's going to be people that love you and hate you. And like Kermit the Frog said, you could be the juiciest peach in the world, and some people just don't like peaches, and that's hard. I always say, I think we have to be realistic. When I do a post and I don't get any likes, that hurts. I'm not going to be the one
Does
who
it still hurt?
You put in a lot of effort, right? So I'm just being realistic
Okay,
here
why
because
are you doing posts for other people? Why are you not doing posts for yourself? And if they get it, that's great. If
Yeah.
they don't get it, that's great.
I think it's because just because we're not kids anymore doesn't mean that we don't feel good when people reward us. And I think you can't run a business if no one, gives you any like ticks of what you're saying. That's just math,
Why
right?
is it a reward? I'm going to ask you questions now. You're a doctor, I'm not a doctor.
No,
Why
no.
is it a reward? Because it's set up, social media is meant to be sticky. It's
Yeah.
meant to feel like a reward. I prefer to set it and forget it. And check in every now and again. Did they like
Yeah.
it? Did they not like it? But it doesn't affect me, whether they do or not.
I wouldn't say affect me. I'm doing this for myself, but it's more, I want to help others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if what I'm saying, maybe not, resonating with them, I want to know. I want to know what post would you like me to sort of, now I'm not saying exactly what post, I'm saying, do you want more tips? Do you want more tricks? Do you want more stories? At the end of the day, the reason why I'm doing that is not for, look at me, give me likes. It's more to know that I'm on the right direction. This is, at the end of the day, you can't help people if you're broke.
Do you ever make mistakes?
How many would you like to know about? Here's the thing that I learned about mistakes. Just because you make a mistake doesn't mean that you are a mistake. Now, the reason why I think that's really important for people to understand is because one person in your life, I can guarantee this, has said something along the lines of, I'm so disappointed in you. And it's like, but we don't
Every
hear...
school report through childhood said that.
But, we don't hear that. We hear your disappointment. You as a person, your mistake. That's what we hear.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm listening to everything you're saying. I don't think that's true. I don't think everybody hears the same as you hear. I think they have their own version of it. I would counter what you said about mistakes, and I would say that nobody ever makes a mistake. Because at the time of doing something, you do the best with what you know.
Not always. I would disagree with that.
But if you make a decision, like to pour a glass of water on the floor,
Yeah.
at the time of making that decision to do it, that's the thing you decided to do. Whether it's a right thing or a wrong thing, you don't get the hindsight of saying whether it's right or wrong until later on you go, oh, what was I thinking? So beating yourself up about stuff that you might have done in the past or how it affects people means that you're also taking away your ability to trust yourself to be doing the right thing at the right time. And it also means that if you spend so long thinking about it, you won't jump and grow wings on the way down. You'll be too worried about it going wrong. So I just throw it at you. I don't believe that we do make mistakes. I think the way that people perceive it is a mistake. But we don't have to perceive it. This is the way I am. I happen to look like this at this moment in time. If I decide to change it, I'll change it later, but I'm perfectly happy in my own skin. And if people don't like it, they can kiss it.
Yeah, but I think to get there, you have to go through that messy middle.
I
You
agree
have
with
to
you.
realize
I agree
that's,
with you.
and that's, I totally agree with that. I call it the mistake mindset. When it comes to innovation, who's the guy, the Netflix guy? Anyways, he said something like, there's no such thing as there's no such thing as a bad idea. All ideas start as bad ideas and eventually they become good. Like if you look at the top innovation, it was a really shitty idea. Like if you look at BlackBerry at the start, like that didn't go so well, right? And then they they trial and error.
But
and
then
I
they
think,
didn't turn around and take the touchscreen phone, so that was kind of like a bad idea, I guess, at the time.
yeah, but trial and error. So I think you have to have that mindset. But when you've grown up in a household where, and I'm not saying this was mine, but I've heard stories after stories where you have to do everything right. Your parents are like, you have to get an A+, you have to, be able to nail that mount off the beam or whatever, you have to get like every strike, whatever the, not
Who
strike,
says
whatever.
you have to?
No, what I'm saying is in general,
But that's my question. Who says you have to?
as in someone that you think should love and respect you,
Yeah,
when
I
you are
understand,
getting
I
that.
understand, but later on those words echo through your life.
Yes.
The way to counter it is to say, who says?
Yeah. But what I'm saying is if you've been raised in that,
I
it's going to
understand.
take a while to get there, right? So when you're going through that messy middle, this is when you start realizing just because someone is disappointed in me doesn't mean I'm a disappointment. Just because I've made a mistake doesn't mean I am a mistake. And this is what I know resonates with a lot of people, because they do feel like that. They feel if they're not perfect, then they're not perfect at all. I guess what I'm saying is that for some people, this is a very important realization in the middle. Just saying, like, if I spill this glass of water when, a gajillion people are watching me, yeah, it's a little bit embarrassing, but it is what it is. Shit happens, right? But you have to get to that point.
That's true.
Whereas I think if you're before that, all you're thinking on the way home is going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe that. Like, they're never going to show the episode. They're never going to invite me back. All the stories that we say, you have to get to that point. Again, it comes back down to what I think of myself is more important than what you think of me.
Well, I agree with that completely. It's like when they say when somebody hates you or you hate somebody, they say what you actually hate about that person or you dislike about that person is they're doing the stuff that you don't like about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, been there, done that. And like I said, not a proud thing to admit.
But it's interesting, isn't it, when you look at people as a reflection on you. See, I'm very happy in my own skin, whatever the skin looks like, and it bulges at certain places. I'm kind of dealing with that in a way that just goes, I'm okay. Mm-hmm. But it took a long time to get to that, to realize that my validation is not based on everybody else. Mm-hmm. But one thing I won't do is I won't put up with other people's crap at the same time. Mm-hmm. So recently I had a connection where a couple of friends from my school childhood came to Dubai literally this last weekend. And I'd not seen one of them for about 40 years. And I'm like, wow, this is fantastic. And he was very aloof at the time. And he was aloof again this time. And cracked a joke at my expense. And I didn't deal with it. I just went, right, okay, we're done. Still went through the motions of spending time with my old friends. But will I call that guy? No. Because I don't need to waste my time trying to prove that you are wrong about me. You're talking to the 16-year-old you knew. I'm a lot different to that, and I don't need to prove anything. But you can vote yourself off the island if you want to at any point, because I'm happy in my own skin. And if I was to end tomorrow, I'd go, yeah, fair enough. I gave it my best shot. Have I got more to do? Yes, but I'm happy to stop at any point. If I don't wake up tomorrow, I haven't lost anything, because if you live from day to day and you live in the moment, the adventure becomes much more fun. Whereas so many people I know, and I understand, there's an exercise, and you're a doctor, so you know this better than me. There's an exercise where you say, where's the past? And you hold up your right hand, so where's the past? It's there. And where's the future? And you go, it's there. And the through line means that wherever you're looking, you're always seeing like that. And what you need to be able to do is to move it around. There's a physical NLP thing, to move it around. So you're able to see the past and future at the same time, and you're in the present. Some people go like that. And they have a past there and a future there, and they're never in the moment. And they have to physically move it to feel that they've got a past behind them and a future. But you can only change what you do right now. And that, for me, when we talk about mistakes, and again, I mean, have you ever failed in your life?
I hope so, many times. Because I gave it a go. I gave it a shot.
You don't get to find out whether it was right or wrong until you look at it and go, I'm never going to do that again, but I'm glad I learned, and luckily I've still got my legs, and so on. So if you're able to understand that every day's got adventures, it's like if you look at people who's super successful and they look like, if you were born into huge money and you'd always been at a really top level in life with celebrities and all the rest of it, how do you know you've achieved anything by the end of your days? So if you get a choice of a rags to riches story, so a guy like Dariush, who started off in Dubai, 15, 16 years ago, with zero, brought his family over here to try and make it work, and now, multi-millionaire, super successful, this podcast is the #1 podcast in the UAE. His stories, his gladiator events are off the charts. Is that more interesting than a guy who started off as a millionaire and became a billionaire? Well, yeah. Because you want to know what went wrong, what went right. I was blessed to have been on the journey with him for a large chunk of that. So I know what happened, what didn't happen. And I think that some people forget it and they want the easy option. But if you won a lottery ticket and you got all this money, the facts are most lottery winners end up poorer than they were before they got the lottery money 5 years later because they didn't understand how to look after money properly. So that learning curve is really essential. So I want to throw this back at you because when you talk about your experiences and when you talk about the fact that you've still got kind of going through this journey now, but you've got through most of it. When you go on stage and you share your story with people, I know that, like me as a speaker, you're thinking, what's in it for them? And you resonate because you get the Wi-Fi code of the audience in front of you. How many people come up to you afterwards and they've found a revelation from what you've shared? And how many do you think don't want to know and go la 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 because they're still in the center of it and they want to hold their wound and wear it like a badge?
And that's fine. It's not the right time for them, right? But to answer your question, the last talk I gave, I had to go to the bathroom really, really bad. It took me an hour and a half to get to the washroom because
I was going to say, you've been there for an hour and a half. That's a really bad event.
Too much
information.
Questionable. No, like I was stopped that many times on the way to the washroom. And it was the word that, and I actually, it's funny, I was just about to say something, I was like, oh my God, I can actually say I'm proud of myself. Whereas before I'd be like, oh, don't I sound like an arrogant bitch? But I was really proud of myself after this talk. Because when they came up to me, and I know I'm going to start crying again, but they just kept on saying, like, it's so relatable. Like, everything. And that's what I wanted. Sorry.
That's why we bring the tissues, and that's why I like to talk so much. So I'm going to ask you another question as you recharge yourself. And there's nothing wrong with crying on the show. I cry all the time.
I just worry about my makeup, as long as my makeup's good.
Well, mine smudges, but I put glasses in front so you can't see it.
Yeah.
So when it comes to working an audience, for me, it's very simple. I want to leave an audience better off than they were when I first met them. And I also know that when I'm talking to an audience, because I've been a kind of chameleon, I don't really fit in with most groups, but I am able to work out the Wi-Fi code like a superpower and get on with most groups. Does it mean I get accepted by them? No, it doesn't, but it does mean that they accept that I exist and I could be beneficial. And sometimes that's all you can hold on to and all you can use. Yeah. But what I also find interesting is when you're talking to an audience and you want them to take them on a journey, how many people are living off old programming that doesn't serve them, but they're too scared to look in the mirror, see themselves and just go, maybe I should be more vulnerable and maybe I should be lost. Maybe from that I can recover and come back to myself. Yeah. And I see people in denial all the time. And I think that men find it harder than women because at least you've got words. At least you can kind of talk to women and get that conversation and have a group hug. Men don't do group hugs like that. In fact, they don't even cry in front of each other unless they've got really, really deep into this conversation. So when you're talking to an audience, do you find you've got men and women who respond the same way?
Yes. And
how does it affect men then?
It's funny that you say that because my partner, I mean, he always jokes he was dragged up, he wasn't brought up, like totally different past. But the point being is that the way he dealt with any kind of conflict or whatever is just like to fight, like I'm right, you're wrong. Anyways, so I just had to gently sort of, what am I understanding from you is this? And he's like, don't pull that psychology bullshit on me. And then we would have a great conversation. But to your point about men versus women, they both respond the same way because at the end of the day, we all have a secret that we feel ashamed about. And I think until we make sense that that shameful secret isn't actually shameful at all, it's a part of your past. You're not your past. It's a part of you. It's created a very wonderful DNA-specific version of you. When you understand that, you can move on. There's an interesting, when you were talking about like the past and future, there's this culture, and I can't remember what it's called, but basically they actually have the past, they talk about it, it's in front of them. Right. And the future is actually behind them because they can't see, they don't know what the future is, but they do know what's happened in the past. And they always keep the past in front of them because they can learn from it.
That's interesting because the same thing is done by many people who can't move forward because all they see is mistakes of the past or their history or the terrible things. And you say, well, what about tomorrow? Yeah, but I haven't fixed this thing yet. Or that relationship that's over now. If only I'd done this. But you can't go back and change it. Yeah, I know, but I wish I could. Move on. It's a challenge for many people until you're happy to live in this 24 hours adventure of when you go to sleep. I mean, we talked before about me having baggy eyes and looking tired because I love life so much. I love getting as much as I can, even whether I'm watching Netflix or I'm walking my dog or I'm working on a stage. It's being alive that really interests me. But equally so, if it's to end tomorrow, that's cool as well. I don't think I've missed out on anything because I've enjoyed as much as I can out of it. So how do you now drive your life when you've talked about these challenges in the past and you've got audiences that are waiting to hear how to move forward? You have to share the insights that you got from it. And what are they?
I don't believe in telling people what to do. I think if it comes to marketing or sales or skills based, absolutely. And this is actually something that a coach told me a long time ago. You have to tell people what to do. You have to give them a checklist. You have to give them step 1, step 2, step 3. And of course, like a puppet, I did that and never felt right. And especially when I started to dive into self-respect, the operative word being self. I think a lot of people know what they need to do with their life. The question is, why aren't they doing it? So rather than tell people what to do, I simply ask open-ended questions. Because I think it's like the shower conversations. You know, when you're in the shower and you're like, oh, I thought this is, or you're walking the dog, that's when I think you have the best conversations with yourself. And I think that's when the most realizations happen, when you're not actually specifically thinking about how am I going to change my life. It'll come to you. I always say it's like a good ossobuco. I love cooking. So, you know, you fry the meat, it starts tasting a little bit better. You get the brown bits, you put the onions, starting to taste really good. But then you let it simmer. After a half an hour, not so bad. After an hour, very nice. After 8 hours, perfecto, right? Yeah, but that's when all the flavor, like that's when everything gets extracted and you're like, oh my God, I didn't think about that. Nika, that makes sense now, you know? So I think I want to empower them. You know you best. Don't live your life like I did, letting everyone tell you what to do. You got a girl, you got a guy, whatever it is, right? And I think we need to stop saying why me and why not me when it comes to, you know, to answer your question about how I live my life. When, you know, got the opportunity for this podcast, of course there's that old thing, and oh my God, why would they want someone like me? I'm not going to be able to give anything to the audience. Well, why not me? I've actually done a couple things in my life. When I'm pitching for a keynote about all these, I'll give you a story actually, this is a good one. So I saw this conference, this was, can't remember, like back in 2016, it was by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Can't remember the name, but anyways, they were like, call for speakers. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna apply. And then of course that, you know, voice comes in your mind, like, who do you think you are? You're nobody, this is The Rock, you know, this and that.
Syndrome.
I'm like, why not? What is so bad about just emailing them, right? So I emailed and I got a response. And I literally said in my email, I know I'm not a big profile. I know you're probably looking for big names, but I just wanted to put myself forward. And she responded, every big hitter had to start somewhere.
It's true.
Boom. And that's how I live my life. You got to start somewhere. Is this going to be the best podcast you ever had? I don't know. But I'm giving it my all. I'm giving it 110%, and that's what I would love for people to do. After they finish listening to this podcast, you know that thing that you know you should do, but you're not doing, do it. Why not you? Why can't you be the one that went, I'm going to get off my soapbox now?
And it's one of the things that you just said there, you know, it's going to be the best podcast in the world. It falls into the conversation of saying, well, who is going to benefit from watching that podcast? Me. I'm going to enjoy watching it back. And so straight away, we look for outside validation all the time, and nobody cares about anything but themselves. They only care about you to find out what you can do to make their lives better. And I'm not saying it to be horrible to people. There's loads of lovely, lovely people out there, but we have to work out what reflection is and what makes us tick and what makes us happy. And if you get happy making other people happy, that's good. If you get happy showing up to other people, that's good. Do you. Because you can't change other people. They can only change themselves when they're ready, and they might not be ready during your lifetime. They might need to have that experience and other ones on their journey before they're ready to come back and make those differences that you suggest. You see, I'm a coach as well, but I don't do much coaching. I do mentoring, because I have a different opinion on what you just said. And I've done coaching. I haven't got the patience for people to turn around and have those eureka times. I'd much prefer to go, okay, from that experience, which of these different options do you think is closest? Sometimes I coach, so we've got to find their own way of getting the what's it called? The
Neurons. Neural pathways?
Neural pathways, there you go. I'm an old school NLPer, so it didn't have neuroscience at the time. It was just called NLP. So I do program and help people to accept their new programming, but often I find it best when I see people who are lost to be able to point out what they need to do. And it's a very different approach, but I do it in entertainment generally and helping people to become thought leaders. And the reason I do that is because it saves time for many people. Because we're here talking, I'm in my late 50s, you're in your early 40s. If you knew what you knew now...
Late 40s.
Okay, late 40s, okay, that makes me feel better. If you knew what you know now when you were 16, before, or even 15, before you went to the finishing school in Italy, would it have changed your life?
I don't know. I don't know if it would have, because I think back then I thought I knew everything, right? I think some life lessons are only learned when you need to learn them. I think time is a funny thing.
I'm going to ask you another question then, right? Because
Oh,
you wiggled out that one. An older version of you, an older Dr. Katherine Iscoe is standing next to you right now, 20 years from now, and she's talking to you at this moment in time. What advice is she going to give you?
You look fabulous, girl. I think you're doing great. You're doing great. You have a lot to learn, but you should look forward to that.
And?
I don't know. I can only think
She's
of positives.
She's completely happy with everything. She's gone, Eureka, I've got it all.
Yeah.
I need to tell you what you need to go. You're in a time capsule.
But I don't want her to tell me. I want to figure it out by myself. I guess what I'm saying is I want to figure out my answers on my own. And I think to your point, like I actually don't coach. I used to coach, I guess, mentor a long time ago. The only thing I do provide is actually a 7-day intensive where basically I'm in a person's pocket, literally. So whenever they have a thought, my partner's going to hate me for saying this, but they fart it out. Like you're holding in your thoughts and you just fart it out. Like, oh, my boss just said this and I wanted to say this, and they just write it down. And they just keep on texting me the messages. At the end of the 7 days, we go through them all. They've already learned all their lessons. I'm just there as a sounding board. So I guess to your point, like, would it be easier maybe if the old me gave me a few tips and tricks? Maybe. I don't want that. I want the adventure. I want, like you, I want to wake up and
Are
just...
you enjoying the adventure?
Oh my, fuck yes. Oh, sorry.
It's okay with
Whoopsies.
Beep, 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 beep. F yes.
Yes.
So you are enjoying it. When did you start enjoying it? Because you didn't before.
So it was after my little emotional breakdown.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so this was when I went back to see my dad, and this was when I got this on my arm. And it was just every day, even especially the hard days, is when I would look down at it and literally ask the question, I might not be happy right now, but am I proud of the decisions I'm making? That's when life started to become more adventurous. Because I think if you're looking for the answers to make things easier, to make things shine, sparkly, yeah, maybe life is a little bit easier, but I'm not proud of myself. You know, I want to figure things out. I'm curious. Like after this part, I would love to know how I can improve. It's not that saying that I've made mistakes. I would like to know how I can improve. And I think that's the way to go through life. You are not going to get it right every time. Unfortunately or fortunately, you know, whatever way you want to answer that question. I think for the people at home, there's something going on in their life. I know there is. There's something that's keeping them awake at 2 a.m. in the morning. And they're waiting for the right time. They're waiting for the right answer. There's no right time, no right answer to have that hard conversation, to ask for the raise, to quit your job, to enter whatever sentence.
Who are you talking to? You're talking to your boss, you're talking to your friends, you're talking to your family, or you're talking to yourself?
No, as into yourself. You have to tell yourself there's no perfect answer. There's no perfect solution. There's no perfect time to do whatever it is, that hard thing you have to do. And so, you know, with this old me, you know, what is she going to tell me that I can't figure out on my own?
Okay, what about you now, talking to that 15-year-old?
Oof.
What advice would you give her?
It's funny, I've been asked this question before, and I always fall back on no one's actually thinking about you because they're worried about themselves. Now, and I actually figured this out. Way too long of a story, but I connected with this girl that I was kind of friends with, associates with in high school, and I'd just done a post about how challenging it is, for 15-year-olds nowadays and so forth. And she messaged me and she said, "I had no idea that you were going through such a rough time. I thought you were having a great time. You were always smiling. You were getting great grades. I'm so sorry I didn't reach out, but I was dealing with my own crap." No one was thinking about me. Everyone was worried about their own stuff, and I wish I would have known that, because you just go home and you're like, oh my God, like it's like you're an ant on a molehill and everyone's just staring at you, wanting back. They're not thinking of you. They're thinking of their own crap,
Would that made a difference if you told that to a 15-year-old version of you?
This is the thing. I don't think so.
She needed to learn herself.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And that's, self-help is great, the self-help books, but I think a lot of times you need to be given information that sets you up to learn on your own. Because, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink.
That's very true.
And my dad is a great example of this. I remember going through a breakup, a little bit dramatic, like fall to the ground. I'm like, how could you break up with me? I was devastated because I was like, in my head, I was like, I'm marrying this guy. Broke up with me.
Is that because you'd worked so hard on you? How could he reject for you that you'd worked so hard on?
I think I was still in I need a penguin to live my life. I need my guy. But the point being is that I went to my dad. I'm like, give me advice. And he's like, I can't. I was like, Dad, fix it. I don't want to feel this way anymore. Like, I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to be lonely. I don't want to feel like this anyways. He said, Squigs. He calls me Squigs. I can't do anything. He's like, the only thing that's going to help is time. You're going to figure this out on your own. And he never gave me advice. He always said, have you considered? Because he thinks if you give people advice, you're creating a follower mindset. I will do what you want to do. People know. They know. They're not, we know what to do. We just sometimes need a nudge.
Ultimately, I think what your dad's saying, and certainly I do, is get people to start asking themselves better questions. Because
Exactly.
the dialogue that they're using and the script that they're using isn't serving them properly.
Yes.
And they base it on the stuff they see around them that is based on the wrong stuff. If you're hungry and you eat a load of biscuits, suddenly you're not hungry anymore. Does it have to be a 5-course meal in a 5-star hotel, or do you just want to not be hungry anymore? Ask yourself that question and find the easiest solution for it. But if you then start putting on weight and it's making challenges for you, ask yourself a different question, because we already have the answers to everything. We just need to ask better questions.
Absolutely.
So when's your book coming out? Because there'll be people now who want to read your story, connect with you. And what's your book about?
It's called the Self-Respect Playbook for Overthinkers, Overgivers, and Overdoers.
Wow.
So it's for, I guess, if you've ever said yes when you wanted to say no, if you've ever sort of kept yourself quiet when you wanted to speak well about yourself or promote yourself, this book is for you. Now, it is not, one of my beta readers actually said it great. She said, this is a self-help book for people who hate self-help books. I thought this is like the best compliment ever. So it's just stories, life lessons that I've learned the very, very difficult way, and then an open-ended question that truncates every chapter. So it could be, what story do you tell yourself about risk that serves as both a shield and a cage? Shield that might keep you safe, but it also keeps you stuck. So that 2 a.m. thought might feel risky, but what story are you telling yourself about taking that risk, about having that hard conversation? Are you thinking that by having that hard conversation, you need to prove that you're right? Can you start thinking of it rather than proving that you're right? Maybe you want to make things right. So it's just, again, like you were saying, just a shift.
When you look back at everything that's going on in your life right now and where it's going to be in the future and the journey, can you see a through line of what makes you right now? And with that through line, where's it going to take you to where you go next?
Can I tell a quick story about this?
But you have to answer the question as
I
well.
will. No, it's literally the through line. I just moved into a place in Toronto. I was starting my university, and the lady upstairs, the landlady, was amazing. We said we're going to take our dogs for a walk. I was really, really excited. So I go up to her. It's Saturday. I'm like, oh, I'm ready to go for a walk. She's like, oh, sorry, I totally forgot. Like, I have to do something else. And of course, I'm not, at that time, a people pleaser. I'm also a dog pleaser because I'd already told my dogs, Jelly and Bean, that we were going for walkies. They were bouncing off the wall, so I took them walking. You know, across the road, there was lots of woods. And I remember just sitting on this log, just trying to hold back tears and thinking, like, I'm just not special enough. If I was special enough, then she would have remembered and we would be going for walking together. Now, it's not about the walk. It's about feeling like you are important. And for all my life, I thought that you have to tell me I'm important. And so the through line is realizing no one needs to tell you that you're important. No one needs to tell you that you're special. You are special just the way you are, warts and all. So the through line is realizing every single day, I'm not perfect. I'm not the smartest in the room. I'm not the most experienced. I'm not the richest in the room, but I still deserve to be in that goddamn room. That is knowing you're special. Knowing that when you walk into that room, when you have the conversation, when you break up with someone, when you ask someone out, you're special too. That person is not more special than you.
I love that. And what it resonates with, as you're telling me that wonderful concept, I always laugh when Oscar winners go up to give their speech, because they win an Oscar for the most amazing performance, but then this little person comes out, the real them. I'd like to thank everybody involved for making this happen, the director, the writer, and I'm thinking, who's that person? That's not the one I saw on the screen, and it's not the one you saw on the screen. Unless it's Ryan Reynolds, who only ever plays Ryan Reynolds. It's a completely different person, and so sometimes we get caught up with being that version of who people want us to be. So, a final question for you, Dr. Katherine Iscoe, is this. Somebody else who's watching right now on one of these many cameras, listening to the show, thinking, I need to reinvent myself. What are the steps? How do I do it? What's the right questions to ask? What do you think?
You don't have to become anyone else. You need to unbecome what you think people want you to be. There's a great evolution. The etymology of the word evolution is to roll out what has been rolled up. And this will answer your question, I promise. So when we're kids, and you probably remember your daughter, maybe she was like 4 or 5 years old, she might like go up to you, with her beautiful smiling face, and then she farts in your face and then runs away laughing and thinking this is the best day in the world, right? Or she's done something like that.
Even now, the same thing happens.
Okay, right? Kids are the beautiful example of just being themselves. That is them at their core. They're wonderful. Then stuff happens. Someone says something to you that just cuts a little bit. For other people who are listening, they've gone through things that no one should ever have gone through in their life. And all of a sudden we start rolling up a little bit more. We start to create cages. We start to pour concrete into our souls. We roll up. You don't need to become anything else. You just need to unroll and be that person that you once were. Like, I'm now the person that laughs uncontrollably at a fart. There's clearly a theme going on here. Clearly. Like, I'm the person that introduces myself to a dog before a human. I'm the person now who says what I believe, not what I think you want me to say. That is the person I've always been. And the person who is listening to it, you need to remember that person that you are is friggin' awesome. You don't need any fixing. You need to unbecome what this crust that we have on ourselves. Wouldn't the world be an amazing place if everyone could wake up and say, you know what, I'm friggin' special too. I'm not rich, I don't have an Oscar, I don't have this, but goddamn, I'm special. Just the way I am. That's my through line. That is what I want.
You are enough, and be yourself, because everybody else is taken.
That's right.
I love that. That's Oscar Wilde. I'm stealing that and giving it back later. He's not asked me about it. How can people contact you?
Best way is through Instagram. I love my Instagram. So Dr. Katherine Iscoe, that's a simple handle. And I love more than anything receiving messages. All the messages that you think you shouldn't send to me about saying maybe something that resonated, something that hit home. There's nothing more that I love and receiving those.
It's been an honor and a pleasure to talk to you. I've really enjoyed this. You've opened up a whole load of questions to myself to reflect on who I am and say, am I complete? Am I happy? Because I haven't had the same journey as you. I've had a very different journey, but it's always important because I know there's a parallel between who we are and what we do with you and me. And I think for anybody who's been watching this, they're thinking, how does that fit in for me? What can I do about that? And the answer is probably just being yourself and taking what you want out of it and leaving what you don't need. And just loving yourself a little bit more. I think that's important.
That's it.
Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
Really got tons out of it. I look forward to. We've seen ourselves in person now. Finally,
yes, I know.
I look forward to our next opportunity. I have to charge for that. I'll get my invoice. I'm only joking. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got a lot out of it. We want your feedback, by the way. Make sure you put in the comments. Make sure you contact Dr. Katherine Iscoe on her Instagram or me, Dave Crane, or wherever you can find me. LinkedIn's usually the way that I get back to you on that. If you've been left with some questions about yourself through today's session, then when you ask yourself better questions, remember one thing, be kind to yourself. It's a journey, it's an adventure every single day. If you had the answers, then what's the point in doing it? If you woke up and you won the lottery one day, then you'd think, well, I haven't earned it. It's not really mine. It was given to me by accident. Or maybe you wouldn't. Every day is a gift. And one day when it stops, you won't know because you won't be there anymore. So enjoy the good, the bad, and the ugly. And remember, the most important thing that we have, and COVID showed us, is the ability to breathe. If you are breathing every single day, every single second, you've already won the life lottery. Dariush will be back in this seat in a future episode. I look forward to your comments. I look forward to spending more time with you. And once again, as always, thank you so much for joining us here at Gladiator TV.